So we've got VR MMORPGs, VR Western RPGs, but what about VR JRPGs? In today's video, we'll have a look at how JRPGs could potentially be handled in virtual reality, and what could be the reason for their relative absence from the medium at this time. Hello virtual dreamers, Gregory here. For the uninitiated, role-playing games or RPGs are essentially based on the idea of representing greater concepts like battle or status through the use of abstracted systems, like turn-based combat or experience point progression. The Japanese distinction of JRPGs mainly comes here in the artistic styling, focus on character narratives, and usually the choice of a turn-based combat system. Some notable titles in the space include Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, Shin Megami Tensei, and the biggest one of all, Pokemon. That bit of background out of the way now, let's get into some facets of the genre that could potentially work well in the VR medium. JRPGs tend to feature distinct art styles, heavily influenced by Japan's native anime and manga culture. While it may not be everyone's cup of tea, the art style can work very well in virtual reality thanks to its lower detail complexity compared to photorealism, which by extension pushes it away from the dreaded uncanny valley as well. From a gameplay standpoint, the often used turn-based combat could actually work very well in VR right now, as the VR locomotion problem doesn't always make character action combat as effortless as it should be, and many titles often opt to use teleportation between set locations as a standard of operation anyway. Swapping between a far-seeing overworld view and transitioning to a turn-based battle screen would be a natural fit for this kind of a thing. Considering that the PSVR 2 is also set to release in the near future, the Japanese game development scene may have as great an opportunity as ever to bring JRPGs to the VR medium. Looking at all these positive points, it's easy to wonder why there aren't more JRPGs in the medium as it stands. To get into why they may seem so conspicuously absent, we need to look at the problems that can come with the genre to get the better picture. For starters, JRPGs are not a cheap genre of games to make. The focus on narratives, spectacular combat animations, and stylistic artwork basically requires the creation of tons of art assets and cutscenes, the former of which is basically wholly dependent on money, while the latter of which isn't very favorably looked upon in the VR medium, as players are always in control of their camera views. On that same note, a lot of the most popular VR games today make use of motion controllers extensively for gameplay. To create an expensive game title in a genre like JRPGs that won't likely take advantage of these motion controls can seem like a waste of the medium's potential to VR enthusiasts, and has been seen as an inhibitor in the past for the creation of more third-person based VR titles. Seeing as the PSVR 2 is going to be featuring motion controls by default, it seems that the near future of Japanese VR games may emphasize motion more rather than less. And of course, history has shown that the lack of motion controls isn't necessarily a strong incentivizer, as the PSVR often lacked quality motion controls and in some cases only expected a PS4 controller of players. And even that was still unable to court the development of high-quality JRPGs for its platform. Potential is nice, but the reality for VR JRPGs honestly doesn't look very bright at this time. In spite of how harsh things may seem right now, I can't help but dream of the day that the promising points of the JRPG genre can be utilized by VR in full. After all, we've seen in other titles already that the stylized artwork only works to the benefit of VR, as it assists in lowering hardware rendering demands, an issue that likely isn't going away anytime soon thanks to the prominence of the standalone form factor. In regards to the issue of VR motion control utilization, it's worth noting that the problem itself isn't one of design so much as one of market trends, which may possibly go away with time as the VR market expands and the niche appeal for games that can be played with minimal exercise or coordination increases in demand. In this respect, the rise of an actual tabletop RPG in popularity in the form of Demeo really brings hope in this regard. Really, I should say the rise of JRPGs in the gaming sector as a whole plays in the favor of possible VR RPGs, as it needs reporting over a turn-based style RPG like Persona, Dragon Quest, or Pokemon to VR would be minimal compared to other game types, and could serve as another platform to release for multi-platform titles anyway. While JRPGs certainly aren't a notable force in the VR space at this time, The promise it has certainly gives hope that a great title can be made and will hopefully come down the pipeline eventually. Until that time comes, it'll be up to virtual dreamers like ourselves to keep hope burning strong, or be the ones to take up the torch and light the flames for ourselves. Till next time, my fellow virtual dreamers, this has been Gregory, logging out.